This is Palm Beach Pete, and according to him, he is not Jeffrey Epstein. But according to the internet, he is.
I'm Peter from Palm Beach. Have nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. He's a very bad person, what he did, obviously, and he is dead.
So unless you live under a rock, you probably saw the video of him that went viral a few weeks ago. It was a video of him in his convertible driving down the highway. Someone was also driving down the highway, saw him, and took a video because they thought he looked like Jeffrey Epstein. And he 100% looks exactly like Jeffrey Epstein. From just a first quick glance, right, it looks like someone that kind of resembles Jeffrey Epstein a lot, right? There's some differences, his hair, certain facial features, but overall, if someone was to tell you that that was 100% Jeffrey Epstein with just a different hairstyle and a little bit of plastic surgery, you'd believe him. So this guy's real name is supposedly Peter Semel, and he's supposedly from Palm Beach, Florida. He's been living there for the last 30 years, he said. He said he's well known around the area. Everyone knows him as Palm Beach Pete. Plays a lot of tennis. He's always out and about the town. And according to him, he's very well known. And that's why it was really shocking that it took 6 years for someone to make that connection and to tell him that he looked like Epstein. He's from the exact same area that Epstein lived, Palm Beach. It's not a huge area. It's not a small town, but we're not talking Los Angeles here. All right, so to start, we're gonna look at this picture. This picture is comparing the bottom row of teeth between Palm Beach Pete and Jeffrey Epstein. And if you see, they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, with each number labeling a specific tooth. And if you go one by one and you look at tooth 1 on Palm Beach Pete and Epstein, they match up, right? The way that tooth 2 goes against tooth 1 matches up perfectly. And all the way, the only slight inconsistency is if you see, right, tooth 5 on Epstein looks to be a little bit farther pushed back. So it's protruding back slightly more than on Palm Beach Pete's. But other than that, it's an exact match. And that is mind-blowing. That is the chances of that happening, of there's two random people having these almost exact bottom row teeth pattern, the way that your teeth and the pattern that your teeth make are almost as unique as your fingerprint. It's weird. It's really weird. But now let's take a look at their facial similarities. If we take a look at this picture, you'll see it's a facial comparison. And we're gonna go through this one by one through each little circle and compare the different marks and see how similar they really are. So we can start at the very top, at the red circle, right? It's 3 little marks on the top of the forehead. And if we look, those are the exact same. We have 2 little marks close together at the top with a third one beneath them, right? Now we can go to the purple. If we go to the purple circle, which is right above the eyebrow, there's a little mark right above the inner eyebrow right there, and they look to be the exact same. Now we're going to look at the green circle. This one is right in between their eyebrows, and they have this, where your skin kind of creases and folds right there in the middle, and it goes in the exact direction, right? The line going up the left is perfectly straight. The line on the right indents and then comes to be parallel. Now let's look at the blue circle. This is of the other eyebrow, and there is a more visible scar going all the way through it, and that scar matches up perfectly. Now we're going to take a look at their noses. Their noses, this is the only slight inconsistency that I can see between these photos, and it could just be explained to the angle of their head, right? Jeffrey Epstein his head looks to be angled slightly more back, where Palm Beach Pete is more looking straight on, which would explain why their nostril sizes do look slightly different. But other than that, their nose shapes are completely alike, 100% similar. And now lastly, we're going to look at the little space between their lips. I know there's a certain word for that, but I do not know it. It's that little crease, little fold that some people have. It's more pronounced. They have a pretty pronounced lip, and when you look at it, it has a slight disfigurement on the right side on both pictures, and that lines up 100% perfectly. So not only do their bottom row teeth match up perfectly, almost every single one of their facial features does as well. That is double weird, right? And most of us, I don't know about y'all, but for me, and I think most of the people in the conspiracy world, do not believe in coincidences. They're too convenient. So according to Palm Beach Pete, he grew up in Coney Island, New York. And the main point of contention we're going to talk about here is that he was supposedly a D1 tennis player, a Division I collegiate tennis player. And if you're a D1 tennis player, there should be something that someone can find about that. But from what I've seen, not a single person has found anything to back up the claim that he actually was a D1 tennis player. And not only that, just his entire backstory doesn't make much sense. Not much detail has really been provided. Not only his background doesn't make sense, but his social media background really doesn't make much sense either. If we go to his YouTube channel, the Palm Beach Pete YouTube channel, and you're able to do research and look at his old Instagram, but if you look back on the old account, if you look here, you can see that a different person, a different Palm Beach Pete, was supposedly running this account. And to me, it seems like the new Palm Beach Pete took over the account and pretty much assumed the nickname. That's what it seems like to me. I'm curious to hear what you guys think is going on with his YouTube channel. So let's get into some theories about what could be going on with him. The most obvious is that he really is just Palm Beach Pete. He just unfortunately looks like Epstein. No one in his entire personal life or public ever told him he looked like Epstein, and just a random person driving down the highway that just saw him was the first person to realize he ever looked like Epstein. And that's it. And it is just one big, huge coincidence. But I don't buy that one bit, because like I said, when you start poking holes in this story, you start finding them quick. So theory 2, maybe this was an Epstein body double, and that's why no one really heard about him. His history doesn't make much sense. There's a lot of inconsistencies, because for the longest time in his life, he pretty much lived a secret life as a body double for Jeffrey Epstein. But to me, this personally doesn't make much sense. If someone is in this position in life where they're working as a body double for a person that is running the largest human trafficking ring in known history, I don't think you're just going to be allowed to go back to the same town that the person you were a body double for lived from, and that you look exactly like. I don't think you would just be allowed to continue living normally. So that theory, I'm not really buying it either. Theory number 3, and this is where it starts getting a little weird. So theory 3 states that Palm Beach Pete is actually a clone of Jeffrey Epstein. If you did any sort of digging into Epstein and his interests, you'd know that he was very interested in human DNA and cloning and spreading his DNA. So it's not a far leap to assume that in one of these laboratories where he had all these doctors on a payroll were maybe able to develop something like that. At the end of the day, I don't see a motive. Why have this, clone and just have him like living a normal life and just living in the same town that you lived in? It just really, it's fun to think about, but it really doesn't make much sense to me. Now, theory number 4, and this is one of my top 2 theories. I think it's either this one or the last one we're about to get to. So this theory states that Palm Beach Pete is Jeffrey Epstein. They say the best place to hide is in plain sight. And if you're Jeffrey Epstein trying to hide in plain sight, what better way to do it than to be someone that just happens to look like Epstein? And I could definitely see this being true, especially if it wasn't in Palm Beach. If this was in some other country or halfway across the United States, I could definitely see it being true. But if you were to go through all this trouble, why would you go back to the place where you lived and where everyone knows you and where you're way more likely to get called out? That's why I like this theory, but not my favorite. I do prefer the last one we're about to get into a little bit more. And this last theory states that this is just another trick of psychological warfare by our intelligence agencies. If you weren't aware, our intelligence agencies love to mess with conspiracy theorists. They love to give us fake information, fake stories. They love to lead us down trails that lead nowhere. It's a big thing that they've done. They've done it, right? This goes all the way back to, say, Mothman and John Keel. If you don't remember, John Keel talked about this, about being led down false paths and being purposefully led astray. It's a thing that the intelligence agencies do. They love to do that. They love to muddy the water. If you put so much information out there, say about a story, say 9/11, there's so many theories, there's so many conspiracies that it's really, really difficult to decipher which is the correct one. And like I said, that's due to our intelligence agencies. And as I said, this personally to me is the most realistic theory. I think about 50% of conspiracy theories nowadays, new ones that we get, are exactly what we're experiencing with this Palm Beach Pete conspiracy theory. It's meant specifically to muddy the water, to make things confusing, and to make people farther away from the actual truth. I would love to hear if you guys agree, if you guys think that my theory, my fifth one, is the right one. If not, I would love to hear what you think is the right one. If I missed a theory, I would love to hear that. Any details, anything you guys love to add, I would love to hear it in the comments. I try to reply. If you guys like this video, you like this breakdown and analysis, go ahead, give this video a like, give me a follow, give me a subscribe. It helps more than you can imagine. Can't wait to see you guys next time. If you guys want me to look into a specific conspiracy theory or anything interesting, go ahead, drop it in the comments, shoot me a DM. I'd love to look into it. Have a great day, y'all.